Heidi-ho there, neighborinos. So today, there was a movie released called The Free State of Jones, and if you haven't heard of it, well, get out under that rock you've been living under, because this movie tells an important story that every American should know. It's that slavery was bad. You know, I'm getting really tired of the leftist media machine slapping me in the face with basic facts. Really? Slavery wasn't a good thing? You know, until you told me that, I would have thought twice about it. Yeah, no shit, slavery was bad. And here's the thing, I don't need you telling me that the Civil War was about slavery. You keep saying it and I don't believe it. I'm not buying what you're selling. Why is it the entire Western world ended slavery peacefully, except for the United States? Isn't that a little jarring, in the very least? The way Britain ended slavery was they just bought off all the slaves at market price, then freed them. So the question I must ask is, why didn't the United States take this approach instead of sacrificing the lives of 600,000 young men out of a population of like 30 million back then? Yeah, that's a fucking lot, proportionally. So the narrative is the Civil War was fought to free the slaves in the South, and you know what? I'm just not convinced, Hollywood. I'm just not convinced, and maybe you can redeem yourselves with this new movie you've come out with. Haven't seen it, I'll admit that, but here's what I think. The movie, the basic synopsis is that the Jones Rebellion occurred in the South during the Civil War, and they rebelled against the Confederacy because they believed that what they were fighting for was immoral. Well, if you take the agnostic approach to the Civil War like I have, the immediate thought that comes into your mind isn't that the Southerners were fighting for slaves. Do you think they were out there in the fields, dying the most brutal fucking deaths you can imagine? Literally, most of them were from, like, infections. Just from, like, a bullet grazing your shoulder and you're dying. You're like, oh, well, at least I got to die for the right to own slaves. Pew, pew, pew! What the fuck? I don't see it. I don't see 500,000 people from the South saying that their lives are worth the right to own slaves. The way I see it is that they were fighting for states' rights. It was states' rights to be able to secede from the Union whenever they wished. And really, if the Union wanted to impose the freedom of slaves, they could have just had high-ass fucking tariffs. Literally. I want to compare this to China and the U.S. Topical, am I right? But high-ass tariffs on any industries that included slave labor. You know what would happen? Boom, as soon as those slaves are freed, wow, tariffs go down, industry is booming. But no, they decided to initiate the Civil War, and we lost 5% of our population at the time, which is deplorable. I assume that the southern states wanted to leave the Union because they were sick and fucking tired of the federal government pushing them around. And so they reserved the right to leave the Union in order to preserve their freedom as states to self-determine, although I don't agree with their self-determination to own slaves. But the irony here is that they chose to rebel against the United States government. And the Free State of Jones uses that same mindset in order to rebel against the Confederacy. But here's the thing, if you're a moviegoer and you go and see this movie, and you dissect it, you're going to see that there's a lot of doublethink. But the problem here is, most moviegoers don't care about all that. They just want to see the movie for what it is, and they're going to get the subtextual message that slavery was bad, the North good, and then we all decided to hold hands at the end of the day after the Reformation. However, one thing I think the film producers could have fixed was to change the identity from Jones from a white man to a black man. Because as we all know, Southerners during this time period were all evil robber barons who chuckled and polished their monocles while counting their enormous stacks of money.